What happens when the man who built the business from nothing walks in as a nobody, only to watch his staff treat someone else the same way? Elias Vance leaned on the steering wheel of his truck, eyeing the modest-sized restaurant tucked between a gas station and a laundromat. It was one of the 17 locations he owned, the fifth one he'd ever opened. But he hadn't stepped foot in this one for over 3 years. He built the brand from a single food cart when he was 22. Now, at 44, with a full corporate team, regional supply chains, and nearly 200 employees, he barely recognized his own company anymore. And that was the problem. The last few months, customer feedback had been slipping. Not enough to sound alarms, but enough to make Elias uncomfortable. A few reviews mentioned cold staff, long waits, and a vibe that's just off. His district manager brushed it off as growing pains. Elias didn't like that answer, so he made a decision. He put on a worn-out hoodie, fake glasses, and a patchy beard. He used his brother's name, Derek, and applied to this location through a third-party staffing agency they used for temp help. With the company growing so fast, most of the store-level team had never seen him in person. The disguise worked. He was hired on the spot as a part-time busser. Now it was Saturday morning. The shift started at 10. He walked inside and was greeted by the smell of bacon and the sound of clanging pans. The place looked clean but tired. Booths had some torn vinyl, and the floor needed a shine. A young hostess, maybe 19, greeted him with a polite but distracted smile. "You must be Derek? Follow me to the back, I'll get the manager." The manager, a man in his late 30s named Cole, barely glanced up from his tablet. "Cool, busser, right? Just keep the tables clean and don't talk to customers." Elias nodded, hiding the sting of hearing someone talk to him like that about his own guests. He got to work wiping down tables, stacking dishes, and cleaning menus. After about an hour, a new trainee walked in. She was a short, nervous girl with curly hair and a name tag that read Sierra. She looked barely out of high school. That's when the head waiter, a tall man named Ray, spotted her. "Oh, great. Another one," Ray muttered, loud enough for staff to hear. "They're just pulling kids from the daycare now?" Sierra hesitated. "Hi, I'm supposed to shadow someone today. You're shadowing me?" Ray interrupted flatly. "Lucky you." Elias paused, wiping a table nearby. He watched as Ray turned his back and started walking. "Keep up," Ray barked. Sierra scrambled after him, almost knocking into a tray stand. Ray didn't slow down. For the next hour, Elias watched as Ray dismissed every question Sierra asked with either sarcasm or silence. When she asked where the extra menus were, he told her, "Figure it out, you're not 5. When she tried to help with clearing, he told her, "You'll just slow me down." It was hard to watch. At one point, Sierra dropped a fork while setting a table. Ray snorted and muttered, "Useless." Elias clenched his jaw. He was wiping down a booth when Sierra slid in beside him for a moment, clearly trying to compose herself. "You okay?" Elias asked quietly. "I'm fine," she said, forcing a smile. "Just trying not to mess up." "You're not," he said. "You're learning. That's what training is for." She gave him a surprised look, then nodded. "Thanks." A minute later, Ray snapped his fingers at her from across the dining room. "Come on. I don't have all day." Elias watched as she hurried over. The lunch rush hit hard. Orders piled up. With one server calling out sick and another showing up late, tension was high. Ray's temper got shorter. He dropped a plate once and blamed Sierra for distracting him. At one point, he shoved an order pad into her hands and told her to run drinks without showing her how. Elias finally stepped in. "Hey," he said, walking over to Ray. "She doesn't know the setup yet. Maybe just take 2 minutes and show her." Ray gave him a look. "Busboys don't tell me how to do my job." Elias didn't flinch. "And good servers don't treat new hires like trash." Ray scoffed. "You gonna cry for her now?" Sierra stood frozen nearby, eyes wide. The surrounding staff went quiet. Even Cole looked up from the back. Elias took a breath, holding back the urge to lose it. Just treat her with some decency. That's not a big ask. Ray turned his back. Whatever. Elias walked back to the dish pit, heart pounding. He didn't expect to feel this angry. Or this disappointed. He built this place to be different, not just another restaurant with burnout staff snapping at each other. Where had that gone? And more importantly, how many people like Sierra had already walked out the door? He had one more shift tomorrow. He planned to finish it. But after that, Ray was going to meet the real boss. By mid-afternoon, the dining room had quieted, but the tension hadn't. Elias stood by the side station, folding napkins with steady hands. The air was thick with the kind of silence that followed an unspoken mess. No one addressed what had happened earlier between him and Ray, but everyone had seen it. The servers kept their heads down, the kitchen avoided eye contact, and Cole hadn't left the back office since lunch wrapped. Sierra was restocking the condiment caddies by the windows. Her hands moved quickly, but she kept glancing toward Ray like she was waiting for another blow to fall. He hadn't spoken to her since the rush died down, but the damage had already been done. Elias folded another napkin, slower this time. His eyes scanned the floor. Crumbs near the hostess stand. A coffee ring on table 16. A used straw wrapper tucked under the edge of a booth. Small signs of a shift run on fumes. He grabbed a rag. As he worked, a woman in her early 60s entered the restaurant, walking with a slight limp. She looked around for a moment, then approached the host stand. The hostess was nowhere in sight. "I'm just here for a to-go order," the woman said, eyes scanning for staff. Elias wiped his hands and stepped over. "Do you know the name on the order?"
"Carla," she said.
"I called it in about 20 minutes ago." He nodded. "Let me check on that for you." He walked past the kitchen door and stopped just short of the service window. A younger line cook, probably early 20s, was reading a text on his phone next to the heat lamp. 3 to-go bag tickets sat unclaimed. "Which one's for Carla?" Elias asked. The cook didn't look up. Asked the counter. "The hostess isn't there." The cook shrugged and went back to his phone. Elias picked up the first bag, checked the receipt, found Carla's name, and walked it back up front. "Here you go," he said, setting it gently on the counter. "Lemon pepper chicken and mashed potatoes, right?"
She smiled, relieved.
"Yes, thank you." As she turned to leave, Ray brushed past Elias and muttered under his breath, "What are you, the new manager now?" Elias didn't respond. He watched Carla walk out, then turned toward the back. He found Cole still in the office, sitting at the desk, scrolling through an inventory spreadsheet. The door was open, but his body language said otherwise. "Hey," Elias said, stepping just inside. "You got a minute?" Cole glanced up. "If it's about the schedule, talk to Ray." "It's not about the schedule." Cole leaned back, arms crossed. "Then what?" Elias stepped forward slowly. "You've got a server out front treating new hires like they're beneath him. Line cooks ignoring tickets. A hostess who vanished for 20 minutes during rush. You really think that's just growing pains?"
Cole's jaw tensed.
"You're new here. Maybe don't start throwing stones." "I've worked in restaurants before," Elias said. "And I know when a place is running scared."
Cole scoffed.
"You're a temp. You don't know this crew." "You're right," Elias said. "But I know what it looks like when people stop trying."
Cole stood up now.
"You know what I see? A busser who's way too interested in problems that aren't his." Elias nodded once and stepped back. "Got it." He turned and walked out. If Cole wasn't going to deal with it, he would. By the end of the night, Sierra was assigned to roll silverware with another server named Maya, a soft-spoken woman in her 30s who kept her head down most of the shift, but did her job without complaint. Elias watched as she quietly explained how to fold the napkins tight enough to hold the utensils in place. Sierra listened carefully. No complaints, no signs of quitting, just a quiet determination to get it right. That's what made what happened next hit even harder. As they were finishing up, Ray walked by and saw the uneven roll Sierra had just set down. He picked it up, unrolled it, and dropped the silverware back on the table. This would fly at a truck stop maybe. Not here. Maya looked up. She's still learning. Ray ignored her. I'm not going to spend my shift fixing this kind of garbage. Sierra didn't say anything. She just reached for the utensils. Elias stepped in. You got a problem with her. Say it to me. Ray turned. Why would I waste my time? You two can run the place into the ground together. What's your issue? Elias asked, voice even. She's not slow. She's not lazy. She's new. She's soft, Ray said. She's not gonna last 2 weeks. Elias took a step closer. You don't decide that. Ray's posture shifted slightly. You don't know how this place works. You think being nice keeps the line moving. I think treating people like people keeps them from walking out mid-shift. Ray's gaze narrowed. Right. You're one of those. Elias didn't blink. One of what? Ray didn't answer. He just walked off toward the walk-in cooler. Elias watched him go, then looked at Sierra. Her hands were still on the table, motionless. Maya gave her a gentle nudge to keep rolling. Elias walked outside and grabbed his phone. He dialed a number he hadn't used in months. Yeah, came the voice on the other end. It's me, Elias said. I need you to come to the Eastgate location tomorrow. Don't tell anyone. Just be here by 10 sharp. You're going in? I've already been in. Now I'm coming back as myself. The next morning, Elias arrived in a dark button-up and slacks. No disguise this time. He walked through the front door at 9:45. The hostess stared, confused. Can I help you? She asked. Yeah, he said quietly. Get Cole. Cole came out from the back, wiping his hands on a towel. He froze when he saw Elias. I'm the owner, Elias said. And I've been working your floor for 2 days. We need to talk. Ray emerged from the kitchen, wiping his mouth with a napkin. When he saw Elias, he frowned. What's going on? Elias turned to him. Go get your things. You're done here. Ray blinked. Excuse me? I watched you belittle a trainee in front of guests. I watched you insult staff and ignore basic duties. That's not something we coach through. That's something we end. Cole stepped forward. Wait a minute. You can't just fire people like that. Elias turned to him. You're the manager. You let this happen on your watch. You can either start acting like a leader, or I'll find someone who will. Decision's yours. Ray was still standing there, arms crossed. Elias met his eyes. You're not owed this job. You earn it every shift. You failed. Ray didn't argue. He walked to the back, muttering something under his breath. He didn't come back out. Elias looked at the rest of the staff, who had gathered in silence. I'm not here to scare anyone, he said. But I won't let this place become something I wouldn't want to eat in. Starting today, things change. Sierra was standing behind Maya, her expression unreadable. Elias nodded to her. You're doing fine, he said. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. She nodded once, eyes slightly glassy. Elias turned to Cole. You got 2 days to give me a full report on what's going wrong here. Real answers. Not excuses. Cole swallowed hard. Yes, sir. Elias walked to the front door, paused, then looked back at the room. I'll be around more often. Count on it. Elias arrived early Monday morning and parked in the corner of the lot, watching from behind the tinted glass of his truck as the first employees filtered into the restaurant. He wasn't wearing a disguise anymore. This wasn't about observation now. It was about accountability. He stepped inside 10 minutes before opening. The air was thick with cleaning solution and the metallic tap of silverware being sorted. Sierra was already at the prep counter, folding kids' menus and crayons into packets. Her shoulders were squared this time, movements precise. She didn't flinch when Elias entered. She gave a brief nod, then went back to her task. Maya came out of the back with a tray of syrup bottles. She paused when she saw Elias, but didn't say anything. Neither did the cook at the line, a stocky man named Luis who glanced up and then kept stirring a pot of grits. Everyone had clearly been told who he was now the real owner. Cole came out 5 minutes later, holding 2 paper cups of coffee. He handed one to Elias without a word and gestured toward the back office. Elias followed him inside but didn't sit. "I've got the report," Cole said. "It's not pretty. Let's hear it." Cole pulled a few folded sheets from his back pocket and laid them on the desk. "We've had 6 people quit in the last month. For front of house, 2 kitchen. Most of them left without notice. I called 2 of them yesterday." Both said the same thing: poor treatment from veteran staff, no support from management. Elias took a slow breath. "You didn't know that before?"
Cole looked down.
"I heard rumors, but I didn't dig. I was putting out fires. Schedules, payroll issues, vendor backlogs. I let the culture slip." Elias studied him for a moment. "And Ray?" Cole shifted his stance. "He's been pulling the most double shifts. Picked up a lot of slack when others walked. I leaned on him too hard. Looked the other way when he got harsh." "That wasn't harsh," Elias said. "That was destructive. I see that now." Elias nodded once. "You're going to stay on. But you're on a short leash. You fix this place, or I find someone who will."
Cole didn't argue.
As the first guests trickled in, Elias took a seat at the last booth in the corner, where he could see the entire floor. He wasn't there to micromanage. He was there to witness the reset. Maya handled the first table with quiet efficiency. Sierra shadowed her, not trailing this time, but walking beside her, taking mental notes. When Maya handed the check to a young couple, Sierra cleared their glasses without being asked. They thanked her, and she smiled, small, but real. By noon, the place was half full. The rhythm was better than the weekend, not perfect, but steadier. Elias watched as Sierra confidently took a drink order from a party of 3, wrote everything down, and repeated it back, without stumbling. Maya stood nearby, but didn't interfere. Luis sent out plates on time, carefully wiped at the edges. The food looked right. Temperature checks were being done. No one was on their phone. At one point, the hostess, a petite girl named Karina, approached Elias nervously. "Mr. Vance?
Just wanted to say sorry. For Saturday.
I wasn't at the stand when I should have been." Elias nodded. "I noticed. What happened?" "I had to take a call from my mom. She's sick. I shouldn't have stepped away without telling someone." He studied her expression. She wasn't making excuses. Just owning it. "Make sure it doesn't happen again," Elias said. "If something serious comes up, tell your manager. Don't vanish." "Yes, sir." She returned to the stand with more focus than before. By mid-afternoon, Elias moved to the back, standing just inside dry storage while Cole reviewed invoices. The floor was stable, but the roots were still fragile. "You're down 2 servers and 1 line cook," Elias said. "You can't run like this for long." Cole nodded. "We've got 1 server starting next week. Still looking for kitchen help. Until then, you need to rotate breaks. No one burns out. I'll stagger them. Maya's solid. Luis too. Don't lean on them too much. That's how you got here."
Cole didn't respond.
He just nodded again. Around 4, Sierra clocked out for her break and stepped outside. Elias followed a minute later, finding her sitting on the curb behind the building, sipping water from a reusable bottle. He stood a few feet away. "Mind if I sit?" She shrugged. "It's your restaurant." He sat beside her, not too close. "You learning anything?" "A lot," she said, not looking at him. "Mostly what not to do." He let that sit for a beat. "You handled yourself well today." She gave a dry laugh. "You didn't see me spill ranch on a customer's purse." Did you apologize?
Yeah.
Like 5 times. Then you handled it. She finally looked at him. Her eyes weren't timid now, just tired. Why'd you come in undercover? Because I stopped trusting reports. And because I needed to know what this place had become. She nodded slowly. I thought about quitting after Saturday. I figured. I didn't want to walk away from something just because one guy tried to make me feel small. Elias didn't smile, but something in his posture eased. That's not just brave. That's rare. She looked down at her shoes. I just wanted to do the job right. You are.
She stood up before he did.
Thanks for not pretending it was okay. He watched her walk back inside. At the end of the day, after the last table cleared and the kitchen began wiping down, Elias stood at the center of the dining room and called everyone over. No announcements, no speeches, just a direct conversation. I'm not here to scare you, he said, but I am here to change things. Eyes met his from every corner of the room. Some skeptical, some hopeful. This restaurant used to be a place people wanted to work. I lost sight of that. That's on me. But now we fix it. He looked at each face.
Maya, Luis, Karina, Sierra.
Even Cole, standing in the back, arms folded. Going forward, there's no tolerance for disrespect. From anyone. I don't care how long you've been here. If you can't treat people with decency, you don't work here. No one spoke. I'll be checking in. Not to hover.
To help.
To listen. And to make sure no one's invisible. A few heads nodded. Sierra met his eyes and held the gaze. Shift's over, Elias said. Clock out. Get home. We start fresh tomorrow. As they left one by one, he stayed behind, wiping down a booth with a clean cloth. Not because it needed it, but because he did. He had blind spots to own. And now, a culture to rebuild, one table, one shift, one person at a time. By Tuesday afternoon, the restaurant's rhythm was steady, but nowhere near effortless. Every task still took a second longer than it should, and no one was coasting. But the tension that had once buzzed beneath the surface, the air of fear, of being watched or blamed, had shifted. What remained was something quieter, more productive. Focus without dread. Elias returned after lunch service, wearing plain khakis and a dark gray pullover, nothing flashy. He didn't hover or bark orders. Instead, he took a seat at the counter, ordered a coffee, and watched the work unfold. Not judging, just present. Cole passed behind him, holding a clipboard with updated prep sheets. Inventory came in late. Luis stayed 30 minutes after his shift to help unload. Elias glanced up.
He wasn't scheduled that long.
I know. He didn't ask for overtime. Said it was better than leaving it for the night crew. Log it anyway. And make sure he's out early tomorrow. Already told him. Elias nodded. Good. A bell rang as the front door opened, and a man wearing a pressed polo and slacks stepped inside. Elias recognized him instantly. Jared, one of the corporate field trainers who rotated between locations. He hadn't been scheduled to visit the store for another month. Jared approached the counter and leaned against it casually. Heard the owner's been hanging around. Elias didn't look up from his coffee. You heard right. Jared grinned. Didn't expect to find you sitting on a stool. Didn't expect to find one of my trainers showing up unannounced either. Jared's smile faded slightly. Just checking in. Thought maybe I could lend a hand. Elias finally looked at him. You worked with Ray before, didn't you? Jared hesitated.
Yeah.
At the downtown location. Trained him myself. Did you ever see him treat staff like that? Jared shifted. He was intense. Expected a lot. But the numbers were always solid. Elias took a sip of his coffee. I'm not interested in solid numbers if they're built on fear. Jared's jaw tightened. I didn't know it got that bad. You should've. Jared didn't argue. Eventually, he turned and walked toward the kitchen, offering a half-hearted wave to Cole on the way. Elias motioned for Sierra to join him when she passed with a tray of waters. She approached slowly, unsure. "You've got a minute?" She set down the tray and walked over.
Yeah.
"You training with anyone new today?" She shook her head. "Just me and Maya on the floor. Think you're ready to cover a section alone during dinner?" Her eyes flickered with hesitation. "I think so." "Good. Let's find out." She nodded once, then returned to her station with a new edge in her step, not eager, not overconfident, but committed. By 5, the dinner rush had started. Tables filled steadily. Sierra was assigned 4 booths along the north wall. She rolled out water service like clockwork, took orders without stumbling, and managed to flag Luis when a side of rice came out cold.
She didn't panic.
She asked for help when she needed it, and when an elderly couple requested a substitution that wasn't on the menu, she quietly stepped to Cole, asked if it could be rung in manually, and returned with a yes. No drama, just solutions. Elias watched it all unfold from a quiet table at the back, arms folded, eyes steady. He didn't interfere. He didn't need to. At 6:30, a family of 5 entered, 2 adults, 3 kids. The parents looked exhausted. The youngest child was crying, and the hostess was clearly overwhelmed. Elias stepped behind her gently and whispered, "Seat them at 12. I'll cover the drinks." She nodded gratefully and led them to the booth. Elias brought over menus and waters. "Take your time. If you need anything extra for the kids, just let your server know." The mother gave a thin smile. "Thanks. We've been on the road since morning." As Sierra approached to take the order, Elias stepped back, letting her handle it alone. She crouched to speak directly to the children, asked if they wanted lids on their drinks, and even brought extra napkins without being asked. After they ordered, Elias found Cole near the server station. "Find a comp for that table." Cole tilted his head. "The big group? They've had a long day. Give them dessert on the house." Cole marked it down without question. At 7:15, a dish broke in the kitchen's ceramic, hitting tile, followed by a sharp curse. Elias stepped through the swinging doors and found Luis kneeling beside a shattered plate, one hand holding a broom, the other bracing his back. "You all right?" "Yeah," Luis said, brushing off his apron. "Slipped off the counter. Just startled me." Elias nodded. "Get some water. Take a breath." "I'm good. Just need 5 minutes." Elias turned to one of the new line cooks, who was standing frozen. "You jump in. Follow the ticket flow. I'll cover the next 2 plates if you fall behind." The cook nodded quickly and turned back to the grill. Elias didn't step in to cook. He stood behind the line, reading the tickets out loud and keeping the rhythm moving until Luis returned. By 8, the rush thinned. Sierra dropped off her final check and exhaled as she passed Elias's table. "You survived," he said. "Barely. You did better than half the servers I've seen in this company." That made her pause. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed again. Eventually, she said, "Thanks. That means a lot. You earned it." He stood and walked with her to the back, where Maya was wiping down the pastry case. Elias turned to both of them. "Starting next week, you're both getting a raise. $1 an hour. And Sierra, I wanted to start shadowing on weekends for lead shifts." Maya blinked. "Wait, me too? You've been steady since day 1. You never asked for anything." "That ends now." Maya looked down, unsure how to respond. Sierra asked, "Why now?" "Because this place doesn't fix itself. It's the people who show up every day and do things right that keep it alive. You both did that when no one was watching. That's leadership." Neither spoke. They didn't need to. Elias turned and found Cole wiping down the counter. "Payroll updates go out tomorrow. Make sure it's clean." Cole nodded. "Already done." They worked in silence until the restaurant emptied. The last guests left at 9:30. Chairs were flipped, Lights dimmed, and the quiet hum of the dishwasher filled the space. Elias stayed until the last employee clocked out. He didn't say much, just shook hands, gave nods.
No speeches.
As he locked the door behind him, he looked once more through the glass. The booths were spotless. The silverware was rolled. The line cook was gone, but the grill was clean. The place wasn't perfect. It wasn't flashy, but it was honest. Back in his truck, Elias sat for a moment with the keys in the ignition, engine off. He didn't feel triumphant. He felt grounded. He'd come in expecting to find problems.
He'd found people.
And that was enough to start again. Tomorrow, the restaurant would open like always. Another shift, another set of guests. But the heartbeat underneath it all had changed. And this time, he would never let it drift again.